Hello and welcome to Indus News. Live from Islamabad, I'm Naila Shujra and these are the headlines. The Taliban have objected to the preamble of the intra-Afghan negotiations guiding principles. The Taliban say they reject the preamble which identifies Ashraf Ghani's administration as the legitimate government of Afghanistan. Spokesperson Zabiullah Mujahid says the Taliban will not sign the guiding principle document with the preamble in its current form. In the United States, Arizona State has certified Joe Biden as the winner, undermining Donald Trump's attempts to dispute his election defeat. The battleground states of Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Michigan have already dismissed Trump's legal challenges alleging voter fraud. China has urged the United States to correct its mistake and lift all illegal sanctions. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying said Beijing supports efforts by Caracas to defend its sovereignty. Washington recently imposed Venezuela-related curbs on a Chinese firm. Azerbaijan has retaken Lachin region as a part of a deal signed with Russia and Armenia to end the Nagorno-Karabakh war. The Azeri Defense Ministry says units of the Azerbaijan army have entered the region after 28 years of Armenian occupation. During the 44-day conflict, Azerbaijan liberated several cities and nearly 300 settlements and villages from Armenia. The global number of COVID-19 infections has crossed 63 million, with more than 1.46 million fatalities. The United States leads the world with over 267,000 deaths and more than 13.5 million cases so far. India is the worst hit in Asia with over 137,000 fatalities and total 9.4 million cases. In Pakistan, over 2,400 people tested positive and 67 more died in the past 24 hours, raising the death toll to over 8,000. And in football, West Ham have beaten Aston Villa 2-1 after a fierce English Premier League contest at the London Stadium. With this victory, West Ham have now moved into the 5th place on the points table. For news and details, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. The Taliban have objected to the preamble of the intra-Afghan negotiations guiding principles. The Taliban say they reject the preamble which identifies Ashraf Ghani's administration as the legitimate government of Afghanistan. Spokesperson Zabiullah Mujahid said the Taliban will not sign the guiding principles document with the preamble in its current form. Mujahid added that they are ready to move the talks forward with the current team as Afghans, not as a government team. President Ghani's spokesman Sadiq Siddiqui said both teams have agreed on all 21 articles of the guiding principles. He said at this crucial moment, Taliban continue to debate the preambles, in which some issues need to further clarify. In the United States, Arizona State has certified Joe Biden as the winner, undermining President Donald Trump's attempts to dispute his election defeat. The battleground states of Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Michigan have already dismissed Trump's legal challenges alleging voter fraud. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers has also certified Biden as the winner in the state. With this endorsement, Biden has secured enough votes in the state-by-state electoral college to win the presidency. Meanwhile, the Trump campaign is pursuing legal cases to overturn Biden's victories in Georgia, Michigan, and Nevada. NATO has invited United States President-elect Joe Biden to a summit in Brussels early in 2021. In a press conference, Secretary General Stoltenberg has said that the date will be decided later, but he said all leaders in the 30-member alliance will attend the summit. Stoltenberg added that he is looking forward to working with the new U.S. administration. He said NATO is the only institution that brings North America and Europe together. In stark contrast to United States President Donald Trump, Biden has pledged to restore and expand the 1949 alliance. China has urged the United States to correct its mistake and lift all illegal sanctions. Washington recently imposed Venezuela-related curbs on a Chinese firm. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying said Beijing supports efforts by Caracas to defend its sovereignty. Hua warned China will take necessary measures to safeguard the rights and interests of companies. Earlier, Venezuela also slammed the new U.S. curbs on China. Its foreign ministry said the illegal move aims to isolate Caracas and cause difficulties for Venezuelans. Pakistan has conferred a military award, the Nishana-e-Imtiaz, on China's National Defense Minister Wei Fenghe. President Dr. Arif Alvi conferred the award at a ceremony at the President House. Wei was honored to acknowledge his services in strengthening defense cooperation with Pakistan. The minister also called on Prime Minister Imran Khan and Chief of Army Staff General Qamar Javed Bajwa to discuss bilateral ties. Chinese and Pakistani armies also signed a memorandum of understanding for enhancement of defense cooperation. General Qamar Javed Bajwa said Pakistan Army greatly values its time-tested and brotherly relations with China. He added both countries will stand together in wake of future challenges. Iran's parliament has passed a draft bill that allows Tehran to pursue uranium enrichment of 20%. The draft bill will become a law after endorsement of a clerical body. The legislation also disregards other restraints put on Iran's nuclear program by the 2015 deal. The bill was proposed in the wake of the assassination of top nuclear scientists. Iran has already breached limits in its nuclear deal with world powers to protest a United States withdrawal from the accord. Under the 2015 deal, Iran had agreed to limit its nuclear activities in return for the lifting of economic sanctions. Azerbaijan has retaken control of Lachin region as a part of the deal signed with Russia and Armenia to end the Nagorno-Karabakh war. The Azeri Defense Ministry says units of the Azerbaijan army have entered the region after 28 years of Armenian occupation. Under the ceasefire deal, Armenia was bound to return Lachin to Azerbaijan before the 1st of December. Armenian population that illegally settled in Lachin over the past decades also had to leave the region before this deadline. Armenia has previously evacuated Kalbachar and Aghdam districts as well. During the 44-day conflict, Azerbaijan liberated several cities and nearly 300 settlements and villages from Armenia. Turkey has ordered the arrests of 82 military personnel in an operation targeting supporters of U.S.-based cleric Fethullah Gulen. State media reported that Ankara has taken steps in the light of their connection of the failed coup of 2016. It said the chief prosecutor of Izmir province ordered to take steps to sack 848 high-ranking officers. It said the operation was spread over 39 provinces and 63 people have already been detained. Earlier this week, a Turkish court also sentenced leaders, army officers, pilots, and civilians to life in jail. Since the 2016, President Tayyip Erdogan's administration has expelled over 20,000 people from the Turkish military. 29 arms control and human rights agencies have written a letter to the United States Congress against the sale of $23 billion worth of weapons to the UAE. The de facto leader of the initiative, Seth Binder, said the letter aims to urge the Congress to block the deal. He said the group of advocacy agencies hope to halt the entire sales of missiles, fighter jets, and drones to the UAE. Binder said the group wants its convoy its opposition to the deal next the United Nations administration. Earlier, 3 United States senators proposed legislation to halt the sale, which includes drones from Lockheed Martin Corp's F-35s and missiles. However, President Trump's administration briefed the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about the deal yesterday. Russia says it will not have any discussion on the Crimean issue with the United States. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov said that this while speaking at the Fort Ross Dialogue International Forum. Sergei Ryabkov said Crimea is a closed chapter now. Ryabkov added that there is nothing to discuss on Crimean issue as that problem has been solved long ago. He stated Moscow and Washington should more actively work on improving bilateral ties. He warned that United States sanctions policy on Moscow over Crimean will not be effective. 4 sailors, including a Russian national, have been abducted by pirates from the vessel in a Gulf of Guinea. In a statement, Russian embassy in the Togolese Republic said the pirates attacked the tanker 75 nautical miles away from the port of the city of Lome. Maritime registry data shows that the vessel is owned by a company registered in Athens. The Gulf of Guinea is considered a dangerous area as more than 120 people in over 20 incidents have been abducted so far in 2020. In Yemen, 2 children were killed in shelling by the Houthi rebels on residential areas in the southwestern Thais province. State media said 11 people, including 3 women, were critically wounded in the strikes. It said the Houthis launched multiple deadly and indiscriminate strikes. The rebels recently issued a threat that they were stepping up the attacks. Yemeni forces backed by the Saudi-led coalition have been locked in clashes with the Houthis since 2015. 6 ISIS militants have been killed in an operation led by the Iraq Counter-Terrorism Service in Mosul City. In a statement, the Counter-Terrorism Services said their commandos were backed by the United States-led coalition's aircraft. It said 3 militants were killed in an attack on a cave in the Mahmour Mountains. It said 1 CTS commando was wounded in the operation. The United Nations has condemned rocket attacks by terrorists on foreign military bases in Mali. The United Nations Mali mission's head Mohamed Anadif said the body firmly stands in solidarity with its partners. He said the United Nations will spare no effort to carry out its respective mandates and bring peace to Mali. Earlier, United Nations Stabilization Mission, a French military base, and another foreign forces camp were targeted in a coordinated attack. There have been no reports of death or injuries after the strikes. The attack came almost 3 weeks after French forces killed a prominent military leader of Al-Qaeda's North Africa wing. It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. The global number of COVID-19 cases has crossed 63 million with more than 1.46 million deaths. The United States is the worst hit with 267,000 deaths and 13.5 million cases, while India has recorded 482 deaths overnight, pushing the tally over 137,000. There are more than 9.4 million cases across the country. More in this report. The world is struggling to control the coronavirus pandemic more than a year after the first case was reported. Rating agency Moody's said most countries will continue to face a significant negative shock despite successful vaccine trials. As for Latin America, the WHO has issued a stern warning to Brazil, where Jair Bolsonaro is still adopting a COVID denial approach. Colombia says it will keep land and river borders closed until January 16th. Meanwhile, the United States has reached an appalling milestone, more than 1 million new coronavirus cases every week. Hospitalizations are at a record high for the 3rd consecutive day.
If we see these trends continue, the potential for a stay-at-home order for those regions in purple because of hospitalizations in ICUs, we're not just now looking at positivity rates, we're not now just looking at case rates. We are now looking in real time at hospitalization numbers and ICU capacity in those regions.
Over in Europe, Turkey has announced a curfew on weekdays and full lockdowns over the weekends after reporting record daily deaths for more than a week. Croatia's Prime Minister Alexander Plenković also tested positive. United Kingdom's Prime Minister Boris Johnson is banking on early approval of the COVID-19 vaccine candidates by regulators before Christmas.
We have every reason now to be very hopeful that these vaccines really will turn the tide in the struggle against the disease and unlock not just this country but unlock the whole of the world and give people finally a sense of relief and salvation after a year in which humanity has basically been unable to move forward.
The United Nations says COVID-19 has fueled a 40% increase in the number of people needing humanitarian assistance around the globe. In Pakistan, 67 people have lost their lives to COVID-19 in the past 24 hours, pushing the death toll to 8,091. The health ministry says 2,458 people tested positive for the virus overnight. Officials say there are nearly 49,000 active infections across Pakistan. They say more than 400,000 cases have been recorded so far, out of which some 343,000 people have recovered. The health ministry says over 174,000 cases have been detected in the province of Sindh, while the Punjab has reported over 119,000 cases. World AIDS Day is being observed today as the disease grows at an unprecedented rate. The unavailability of life-saving treatment for the virus is creating a global health crisis. AIDS, or HIV, has infected more than 38 million people worldwide, with 1.7 million in 2019. The WHO says the epidemic has killed about 33 million people across the world. Just like any pandemic, AIDS has also affected by global inequalities, leaving many vulnerable populations at a greater risk. According to the United Nations, globally 12.6 million sick people don't have access to therapy. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres calls for a global response against AIDS, saying no one is safe unless we are all safe. Japan is witnessing its worst bird flu outbreak since 2016. The Agriculture Ministry says the virus has been detected in a fourth preference. It said the avian influenza was traced on a poultry farm in the HOUTHI city on the Kyushu island. 40,000 chickens at the Miyazaki farm will be slaughtered and buried, while exports in a 3-kilometer radius around the farm will be restricted. But officials say humans cannot contact the bird flu from eating poultry or eggs. Meanwhile, South Korea has confirmed the first case of the bird flu in 2.5 years at a duck farm in Southwest. Japan has witnessed a sharp surge in suicides amid the novel coronavirus pandemic. The total suicide deaths in just 1 month have now crossed the total COVID-19 death toll of the country. According to the Japanese government statistics, over 2,100 Japanese people committed suicide in October alone. Meanwhile, the country's total COVID-19 death toll stands at 2,087. The pandemic's economic fallout and social isolation are suspected to be the main reasons behind the recent surge. Japan's National Police Agency says 1,805 suicides were registered in September. A giant robot from an iconic Japanese anime was unveiled at a theme park site in the Yokohama area. The life-sized 18-meter-tall Gundam was built in the Bay Area to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the anime. Official video provided by the park's operator showed the Gundam being activated and moving its legs and arms. It will be the centerpiece of the Gundam Factory Yokohama, a tourist attraction that opens on the 19th of December. The park will welcome visitors for a limited time until March 2022. Japanese officials hope the anime robot will stimulate tourist demand after coronavirus brought the industry to a halt. Deforestation in Brazil's Amazon rainforest surged to a 12-year high in 2020. Destruction has soared since President Jair Bolsonaro took office and weakened environmental enforcement. In 2020, destruction of the world's largest rainforest rose 9.5% from a year earlier to 2.7 million acres. Data from Brazil's National Space Research Agency, INPE, shows this area is 7 times the size of London. That means Brazil will miss its own target, established under a 2009 climate change law for reducing deforestation to roughly 3,900 square kilometers.
So this does not escape from what is our responsibility. These are the real numbers. We cannot escape from this, and we have to improve it. We have until 2022 to put this issue in order and bring it to the point that we think would be an optimal point.
While environmentalists blame the government for the rise, federal officials hail the figures as a sign of progress in fighting deforestation, as the increase was far lower than the 34% recorded in 2019.
What I can say is this. Our goal in the Paris Agreement was that by 2025, we had to have a 37% reduction in carbon emissions compared to 2005, which was the year all countries committed to. I think we will keep that goal. We may announce a new target for 2030.
European leaders such as the French President Emmanuel Macron have fiercely criticized Brazil, arguing it is not doing enough to protect the forest. The election of Joe Biden as U.S. president has raised the possibility that the United States will also ramp up pressure on Brazil over the rainforest. In Indonesia, a tent cinema in the West Java province is offering a safer experience to moviegoers during the times of coronavirus. A large screen perched on top of a hill is bringing the next cinematic experience to the great outdoors, allowing Indonesian filmgoers to watch movies in a safer environment during the pandemic. Known as the Cinema Under the Stars, the outdoor camp-style movie space opened 2 months ago in Bandung, the capital of West Java province. It aims to keep people both entertained and socially distanced.
Of course, the pandemic is our concern. Because we started this business during the pandemic, that's why we were brainstorming about how to attract visitors, as people have a thirst for entertainment in times like these. We thought about ways to bring them together. We thought about ways to bring them comfort and security, and we are happy to be able to open a place like this.
Alongside fluffy pillows, blankets, and snacks, each tent is also equipped with a hand sanitizer and disinfectant in line with health protocols. No more than 3 people are allowed in each tent, which costs $15 per movie. Each of the 28 tents is about 1.5 to 2 meters apart.
Movies are usually watched indoors in a studio, but now we have this outdoor cinema with the view of Bandung city where we can see the city. And what's more interesting is that they use these tents here, so I wanted to give it a try.
With more than 530,000 coronavirus infections and 16,000 deaths, Indonesia has the highest number of coronavirus cases and deaths in Southeast Asia. The tents may provide limited protection, but for now, moviegoers say life goes on. The United Kingdom government has told business firms to make final preparations for a new trade relationship with the European Union. London says a new centre to monitor goods will help ease what it described as short-term disruption after Brexit. It warned that drastic changes in the management of trade with Europe will likely give rise to a commotion at the border. Officials said firms must get ready for new paperwork and procedures irrespective of a deal or not. Meanwhile, Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin says he is hopeful for a trade deal by the end of the week. Business firms have voiced concerns over a lack of clarity regarding the new relationship between London and Brussels. European stocks are trading higher, riding on the wave of the positive global trend. European stock 600 has edged up more than 0.5%, with bank stocks bouncing over 2%. London's FTSE 100 has jumped over 1.5%, while Italy's FTSE MIB has added close to 0.5%. Frankfurt's DAX and the CAC 40 in Paris have also gained almost 1%. The CAC 40 in Paris has also risen nearly 1%. Earlier, Asian bourses traded higher after a private survey showed China's factory activity growth hit a 10-year high. In football, West Ham beat Aston Villa 2-1 after a fierce English Premier League contest at the London Stadium. With this victory, West Ham have now moved on to the 5th place in the table points. Villa's Ollie Watkins was denied a stoppage time equalizer. An agonizing VAR waited deemed his upper arm was offside, even though he seemed to be holding it back by the Hammers defender Angelo Ogbonna. Ogbonna headed one home inside the first 2 minutes to open the scoring for the Hammers. Villa's Jack Grealish whipped up an equalizer past Lucas Fabianski from a distance. Substitute Zed Benrahma set up Jared Bowen for a delightfully deft touch to retake the lead. Villa had plenty of chances to draw level but couldn't capitalize. It's now time to take a look at the weather around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at Indus.News.